Okay, good morning everyone. So with respect to our last class, as you all know that we had gotten to this section, that is module 5, which is about signals and demand process there. Okay, so with respect to our last class, you all have come across to know with a simple definition of what do you mean by signal. Okay, then we have come across with different types of these all different signals which can occur across. Okay, so apart from this also there are many other which are existing. Okay, so you will be getting across many other signals which are available on Unix respective system, the operating system. Okay, so with each of the name of those signals and what are the descriptions for them. Okay, so what is being available, or else what has been described of whenever that signal occurs there. Okay, so followed out with that, we had even come across with kernel support for signals there. Then what do you mean by signal, how does signal API works there. Okay, so followed out with that, let us come across with the next particular section, and that's called out as signal mask there. Okay, so what do you mean by signal mask now? A process ultimately we know that it inherits all the parent signal mask whenever it is created. Okay, but if at all any pending signals for any parent process is available, so that is not inherited to the child process there. Okay, a process may query or set its respective signal mask via this particular API called out as sigproc mask there. Okay, so what is this sigproc mask as an API? So okay, it comes across with a header file called out as signal.h as a header file. Okay, then followed out it's with an API name named called out as int sig proc mask. Okay, so it takes up 3 arguments there. So those arguments are, first one is int command. Okay, then the second one is sigset underscore t new mask, then sigset underscore t old mask there. Okay, so this particular thing, okay, so signal masking is nothing but wherein you can you can set the mask, or else you can block these respective things whatever are occurring, or else whatever are been stored, whatever you are mentioning in this new mask. Okay, so these all things can happen over the sig proc mask there. Okay, so this particular API returns back 0. Okay, so if at all everything goes well, okay, and if at all everything is okay, okay, else it returns back 1 on error there. Okay, so this is what is with respect to your signal mask there. Okay, the new mask argument defines a set of signals to be set or reset in the calling process signal mask there. Okay, the command argument decides regarding how this new mask value is to be used by the API there. The possible values of this command are as follows. Okay, so what all you can replace here? The very first one is sig underscore set mask. The second one is you can use it as sig underscore block, sig underscore unblock. These are the 3 arguments which you can use in the place of command there. Okay, what if we use the first one, sig underscore set mask? Okay, it overrides the calling process signal mask with the value specified in the new mask argument. So that is nothing but whatever old mask was there, so everything will be refreshed across, and whatever will be in the new mask, okay, so that will be taken as your latest signal mask of that particular process there. Okay, sig underscore block, it says that it adds the signals specified in the new mask argument to the calling process signal mask. Okay, so the new mask argument whatever is there, okay, so that is being that new mask argument to the calling process signal mask. Okay, that has been added across. Okay, sig underscore block, okay, you'll be more defined with my next slide, which will tell you regarding sig set underscore t as an masking there. Okay, the next one is sig underscore unblock. So if anything is existing in the process mask there, okay, and if you want to unblock it, or else if you want to remove that from the signal mask, so you can use this third argument that is called as sig underscore unblock there. Okay, it removes the signal specified in the new mask argument from the calling process signal mask there. Okay, you can unmask it. Okay, those so when you want to unmask it, you are using across with sig underscore unblock there. Okay, so you can just go across with these. If the actual argument to the new mask argument is a null pointer, the command argument will be ignored. Okay, and the current process signal mask will not be altered there. Okay, so if at all your new mask argument is a null pointer there. Okay, if the actual argument to the old mask is a null pointer, no previous signal mask will be returned. Okay, and whatever will be specified in the new mask will be carry forwarded. Okay, the sig set contains the this whatever is there sig set. okay, sig set underscore t. It contains a collection of bit flags there. Okay, what are these bit flags now? You can just come across with these respective API which will define you regarding the flags which are being set across with the signal masking. Okay, so those are being called across as sig set of functions there. Okay, so it includes with this header file called as signal.h as a header file. So you can just come across with the very first API, that is sig empty set, and whatever you are specifying in the sig mask there. Okay, so it will empty across with the respective signal mask from the calling process there. Okay, that is sig empty set there. Okay, then comes a sig add set. Okay, what is this add set? Whatever you are specifying as a signal number here, so that will be added into your signal mask there. Okay, what signal numbers are those? What we have dealt across priorly, sig ABRT, sig ILL. So those all you can add them as a part of the sig mask there. Okay, then comes a sig DEL set. Okay, sig del set is nothing but you are deleting whatever you are specifying as a signal number from this particular signal mask there. Okay, only that will be deleted there. Okay, sig fill set. So sig fill set, whatever you are specifying as a sig mask, so all those will be set across with a flag as a 1 there. So that is nothing but it happens to be a part of this signal mask there. Then the last one is sig is member. So what does this is member tells you? Is member tells you that whether this particular signal number, whatever you are specifying, whether it's a part of a signal mask or no. Okay, so that is been identified by your sig is number. Okay, so you can just come across all of them are with a int as a return type there. So ultimately they return back 0 if it is okay. Okay, if there is any error, so at that time you are having a return back of -1 there. Okay, so you can just come across the same things whatever just now I have said, the same things are here. Okay, but keep in mind here only above all will be returning back 0 if okay there. So if is member, it returns back 1. Okay, if the flag is set, 0 if the flag is not set there. Okay, and -1 on failure. Only this has an exceptional output there. Okay, so that return type there. Okay, so followed out with that, let us come across with the next one. So that is with an API called as sig action there. Okay, so what do you mean by sig action now? So sig action says that sig action API blocks the signal it is catching, allowing a process to specify additional signals to be blocked when the API is handling a signal there. Okay, sig action for this particular thing, signal.h as a header file. So sig action is there. So yeah, it is taking across with the 3 arguments there. Sig action was an API which was introduced, which is a combination of both signal mask and signal as an API. Okay, so it takes across with the signal number. The second argument is struct sig action as an argument of a structure type called as sig action. Then one more is there called as old action, which is also a member of this particular structure type called as sig action. Now let us determine what is the structure called as sig action there. Okay, struct sig action data type is defined in the signal.h as a header file. What it has in it is, these are the 3 things what it has in it. The very first one is SA handler, the second one is SA mask, okay, and the third one is SA flag. Okay, handler is nothing but it acts as, when you are using the first type of an argument, it acts like an signal as an API there. Okay, if you are using the second type of structure type of a variable, that is SA underscore mask, the same sig action acts like a signal mask there. Okay, and the last one is flag there. Okay, so which has an added advantage with the other respective facility which is being provided by the sig action. Okay, so that is with respect to your sig action there. Okay, so it is one and the same. Okay, so it acts accordingly, as I said, if at all you are using the first one, it acts like a handler. Okay, second one, it tells you regarding the mask there. Okay, and the third one is about the flag, which tells you that whether that particular allowing a process to the specified additional signals to be blocked there. Okay, you can have any additional signals across which can be blocked across by that sig action there. Okay, so followed up with that, there is a next particular section which you are studying here, and that's called out as sig chld signal and wait PID as an API. Okay, so this has a very special relationship between these two respective features there. That is, one is SIG-CHLD. What is a SIG-CHLD? SIG-CHLD is a signal whenever a child process completes its work, it returns back to the parent specifying that I have completed. Okay, when it says that I have completed, so that is through this particular signal called out a SIG-CHLD there. Okay, so at the same time you have wait PID as an API. Okay, so what is this wait PID as an API? Wait PID as an API is nothing but it is executed by the parent process for the child to wait there. Okay, until the child process completes its work, the parent is waiting. Okay, so now we are discussing regarding what happens when SIG-CHLD signal is generated and what happens to the wait PID as an API. Okay, so you can just come across. There are, as you all know, that for a signal there are three kinds of actions which takes place. One is a default action, the second one is ignore of a signal, or else call of an user defined function, or else you can call of an function handler there. Okay, the first you can just come across with a small definition for the same. When a child process terminates or stops, the kernel will generate a SIG-CHLD signal to its parent process there. Okay, depending on how the parent sets up the handling of the SIG-CHLD signal, different events may occur. Okay, what's the first event? Parent accepts the default action of the SIG-CHLD signal there. Okay, SIG-CHLD does not terminate the parent process. Okay, parent process will be awakened. Okay, API will return the child exit status and process ID to the parent. Okay, kernel will clear the process table slot allocated for the child process. Then the parent process can call the wait PID API repeatedly to wait for the each child it created. Okay, SIG-CHLD does not terminate the parent process, default action. Okay, parent process will be awakened. Okay, then what will happen is this particular API, okay, will return, that is your API will return back the child's exit status. That's your fork as an API will return back the child's exit status and process ID to the parent. Okay, what will kernel do? Kernel will clear the process table entry as from used entry to unused entry there. Okay, then parent process can call the wait PID API repeatedly to wait for each child it created. Okay, then comes the second one is parent ignores the SIG-CHLD signal there. Okay, when it ignores, so at that time what happens? SIG-CHLD signal will be discarded. Okay, parent will not be disturbed even if it is executing the wait PID system call. Okay, parent will not be disturbed, absolutely. Okay, even if it is executing the wait PID system call. If the parent calls the wait PID API, the API will suspend the parent until all its processes have terminated. Okay, then the child process table slots will be cleared by the kernel. API will return back a -1 value to the parent process. Okay, ignore is nothing but SIG-CHLD signal will be discarded. Okay, so parent will not be disturbed. Okay, even if it is executing the wait PID system call, so it will be, parent will be going on waiting for the child processes to complete that. Okay, if its child processes have terminated, the child process table slots will be cleared up by the kernel there. Okay, and API will return a -1 value to the parent process there. What's the third one? Process catches the SIG-CHLD signal there. Okay, the signal handler function will be called in the parent process whenever a child process terminates. Okay, signal handler function will be called in the parent process whenever a child process terminates. Okay, if the SIG-CHLD arrives while the parent process is executing the wait PID system call, okay, if the SIG-CHLD arrives while the parent process is executing the wait PID system call, the wait PID API may be restarted to collect the child exit status and clear its process table slots. Okay, depending on the parent setup, the API may be aborted and the child process table slot not freed there. Okay, these are the three actions which happen when it catches the signal. So default action catches the signal is nothing but a functional handler is been run there. Okay, so function handler in our case is a signal handler function will be called in the parent process whenever a child process terminates there. Okay, so these are the three kinds of actions which happen whenever I am speaking about the relationship between SIG-CHLD and wait PID as an API. Okay, so followed out with that in our next particular session, I'll tell you regarding sig set jump and sig long jump. Okay, so these two are the same rhythmic way as you guys have come across with set jump and long jump APS. Okay, so for that the same thing we are adding across through the signals. Okay, I hope you have got across to know. Thank you.